All righty. Thanks everybody for being here this morning. We are gonna rearrange the agenda a little bit and do a couple of the shorter things at the beginning so that we're not bouncing back and forth since we have 28 minutes until rule hearing. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? Okay, we're gonna move on to the July board minutes. Anybody have any changes? On the new doc orientation, I thought I didn't want to do that one, but my name was on there, so I was gonna see if anybody else had thought that they were doing it. If not, I'll do it. I'm gonna be gone for boards the weekend before, so I'm just gonna skip out if I could, but.
Me too. I'm doing it with you.
I know, that's why I'm like, I think somebody wrote this down backwards, actually. No? Okay, all right, it's me and Karen rolling forward.
When is it?
Yeah.
Michelle, when is it?
That's a great question.
14th, I think, maybe.
November, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it.
It's November 14th.
Yeah,
Right.
I can be available.
Okay. Karen and I will rock, paper, scissors, I guess.
Well, we don't also need 2 board members. I mean, Scott could carry.
Okay.
Well, I can do it. I bowed out last time because I was committed, and then I think I did a test committee or something, and somebody took over for me. So like, I'm supposed to do it this time. So I don't want to like shirk my responsibility. So I don't mind.
All right. So
I will fight Scott for it, but
we can put Scott's name on there instead of mine.
Okay. Is there anything else about the minutes that need a change?
All right. Then they are good to go. I never remember. Do we vote on this?
Nope.
No. Okay. I think we're just good. Okay. So let's did everybody read the OCA update? Did anybody have any questions? Comments, answers? Okay. And then we have the UWS update.
oh, and
Yes.
Well, and I think some of us probably got an email, I think maybe after this was sent, that they decided that they hired the interim president for permanent president.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Nathan Long.
Very good.
That's great.
Cool. All right, then we will do the executive director report.
Okay. So our budget is looking a bit dire. You have the numbers for June. They haven't finalized numbers for July and month 13 yet. But at the end of June, we had an ending cash balance of $74,809, which is not even a month's worth of expenditure reserve at the end of 2025. So that highlights our need for our fee increase later today in our rule hearing. If you remember, for the fee increase last meeting, the board voted for the 45% increase with an additional bump up in the DC application. And what we're hearing for all the powers that be is that that's probably politically not going to be viable to do because we had a 20% increase last cycle. The other agencies that have fee increases going forward in this cycle are agencies that are also on a 10-year increase like we were last cycle. So they have, increases of 40% or 50, I think one even has a 50% increase, but that agency had not yet increased their fees for the last 10 years. So what we're hearing is that we could do probably a max of a 30% increase this cycle, and then in next cycle, so for 25, 27, come back and request another increase if we need it. So I'm just kind of giving you the background. I'm sure we're going to hear from Hari during our fee hearing and get a little bit more information, but I just wanted to let you guys know that. But we also have not received any public comment from our stakeholders around our fee increase. So that's kind of an interesting piece of that too. The office space, so we've had an interested party come back 2 or 3 times now, asking really interesting detailed questions about our space. They had the property manager actually had folks come in on her contracting team to see if they could rework some of the office space to this agency's or this business's descriptions. And so I haven't heard back yet from that last visit, so I don't know where they are with that sublease possibility, but that's looking like it's going to move forward, we hope. And our board meeting dates, I think we also have this on our agenda to vote on, but these are the proposed board meeting dates in January, April, July, and October are within my ED report. Essentially the third weeks of the month. And let's see, Mackenzie, you want to throw in a Inlumen update for us?
Yeah, not a ton to update other than that we're just trying to keep up on user requests. Staff has been working really hard to find solutions for folks who are having any issues or just provide support for those who have questions. I would say generally, like last time, we're seeing fewer and fewer questions. I think more people learning the system, they're able to help, their coworker or whatever. So that's really good news. And then we're also still working out bugs. And so we really appreciate everyone's patience. From the more, larger perspective, our team has been, when I say our team, it's me and the developers I work with, have been really working hard to get tickets done. We've been working on really big tickets. So one of them was making sure that the KPMs were ready for CAS for our reporting. And that took a lot of attention away from some of the smaller tickets that we have, and yet we still have other folks working on those and kind of slowly working through them. So I'm really pleased with that progress. I think everyone can agree with me that we always prefer things to be faster than they end up being, but we have been working really hard on those. The other thing that's coming through is a lot of our reporting that we've been working really hard on to make sure staff has access to those reports and can and do other work that's not necessarily user front facing. And so that's also been another focus of ours. And then finally, we have been working really hard to find a solution for our public search to make sure that we're reporting accurately any final disciplinary actions and that sort of thing. And I'm really pleased to announce that as of yesterday, we pushed to production hopefully a final solution for that. And so we'll be implementing that over the next couple of weeks. And so that's been like a 3 or 4 week project that we've been working on. So that's my update.
Awesome. Well, and I just have to give kudos to Mackenzie for herding all the cats on the development side, because Inlumen, I've only been privy to a few of those meetings, and they are enough to just want you to just poke your eyes out and pull your hair. So it is nuts. So thank you, Mackenzie, for being a consistent push to have them provide their deliverables and do it quickly. It's kind of a bit amazing to watch all the progress. Other than that, that's the executive director report.
All right.
I had
Since
a
we have
quick-
a little, go ahead.
I had a quick question. Sorry. I was just looking on page, so the total number of DCs and CAs on page 27. Did the DC number really go down by 40, and then there were 122 more CAs from what is that, March to April?
That number is an approximate, and the difficulty with that is right in March is when we transition to Inlumen. So we don't know necessarily the discrepancy, but the good thing is we know that our old database system was really struggling to do reporting successfully, and in Lumen we've had some issues with that. So we're doing our best to kind of make sure that those numbers are accurate, keeping in mind too that when that transition happened, some folks stayed active longer than
Okay.
they would have because we had to catch up and make sure all the data was correct.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of caveats to our reporting. Actually, our key performance measures in our annual progress report was actually much cleaner to handle than I anticipated, just because our transition happened in March. And so a lot of our reporting for our investigations were happening prior to that time. And so we had the old database, even though the data that we were getting out of our old Microsoft Access database is not the most accurate. So I had to go back into the actual true licensee files and complaint files to actually pull the information one by one. But it is so like this snapshot is clearly just a snapshot of where we were in March. And so now for next year, it's going to be much clearer and much more accurate. But as far as the statistics go, as far as our numbers, I think we've evened out in the Inlumen system than that hiccup of that transition period. Any other questions? Thanks, everybody.
Do we just want to talk about the meeting dates since we have a little bit of time?
Sure. So yeah, so what we're proposing, so remember last meeting, we decided to meet 4 times a year rather than 6. And those 4 times would be 2-day meetings each. So January, what I'm proposing is January 22nd and 23rd, April 23rd, 24th, July 23rd, 24th, and October 22nd and 23rd.
I got no problem.
Looks good to me.
What was the April date?
23rd, 24th.
And just for the record, that would be virtual, yes?
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yes, all 4 of these would be virtual.
Everybody good?
That's
Are we gonna
good.
get those dates emailed? Or
I'm sorry?
just write them down right now, or are we gonna get those emailed by any chance? Or
They're in the
I could send you a follow-up, but yeah,
Yeah.
I would suggest recording them right now.
Can you give them to me one more time? I missed, I think, January.
22, 23,
Uh-huh.
April 23, 24, July 23, 24, and October 22, 23.
That's what I had. Okay, sounds good.
sorry, January one more time.
22, 23.
Okay, consistency. I like that.
And how about Micah? Are you good? Okay, thanks. All right.
I just want to note that I definitely put 2024 in the chat. If you use your brain early in the morning, you'll know it's 2025. So just know that those dates are right, but the year is not. So that's my bad.
Isn't it an hour later for you?
I know I do technically have less of an excuse, so that's my bad.
All right, so we will move forward with those dates. Thanks, everybody.
All right. We got 13 minutes. I'm like, what else can we get through?
We could probably get through the PMP subcommittee policies if we want to do those.
That's what I was wondering.
And that's agenda item number 10.
Okay.
Mackenzie, you can pull those up.
Yeah, just give me one second.
Thank you.
All right, when you can see my screen, please let me know.
We got it.
How many more of these do you have? Like, to
That's
finish
a
going
really
through?
good question. So we have these two, and then we're working on the substances and supplement policy, which is going to be large,
Mhm.
and a couple others. But really, we're honing down kind of the base document. It's really getting tight. So
That's amazing.
yeah, and we're deleting like so much that it makes Mackenzie and I just happy as all get out.
Anybody have comments on this one? Anybody feel like making a motion on this one?
Everybody still sleeping?
I'll make a motion, but I don't think it's appropriate since I oversee the subcommittee.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to adopt the allergy and food sensitivity testing policy as written.
Would it be weird to ask why chiropractors would be testing allergy and food sensitivity?
Nutrition is within our scope of practice.
Okay. Wow, chiropractors can do a lot of things.
In this state,
Yeah, in this state.
So there's
Okay,
a
we have a
motion.
motion.
If you motion, I will second if that's. I'm
Thanks,
waking
Micah.
up. I'm working on my coffee right now, okay?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Then we will vote. Seth?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Micah?
Aye.
Is Lori here?
Not that I'm
No.
aware of.
I for myself, motion carries.
Right. Then we have the instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization policy. And this one we obviously had since 2018, and we were just making modifications to it once we were reviewing further detail within the PNP. Originally, the original question for this policy was around chiropractic assistance, and so I think we just brought in the DCs within the scope.
Any questions or comments on this one?
So is that like a CA would have to have gone to a Graston certified class to be able to use that, even if they've trained under the chiropractor? Is that how I'm reading that? Or something similar?
What say you, Seth?
I say, okay. I say yes. Because things like Graston, Smart Tools, all those, I believe the way it works is basically you have to be certified by that organization. So you can't be like secondarily trained technically and say that you're practicing that.
Right, but if you're using a tool that's not Graston or whatever, and you're not saying you're using that, do you still have to show hands-on training in that modality? Or is that kind of what that's more what I'm going after? Sorry, I didn't mean to say Graston.
That's just become, I think, the go-to, like Kleenex, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's put it this way. Do you feel comfortable training your CA? Or would you rather have them actually do it in a course under guidance of like, I mean, the course I took, Craig taught it. And to me, that was infallible information. Do you trust your fellow practitioner to train a CA to do any kind of instrument assisted? Or would you rather have that be in the hands of, you send them for CE and they get trained in it?
I would feel comfortable training.
Yeah, you would. I would. Do you feel comfortable having your fellow practitioner? I mean, this kind of, to me, boils down almost to the LMT issue of like, do you trust your fellow doctor to train a CA to do a 4-unit massage?
Well, then if the CA is also an LMT and they've had this training in school, is that proof enough for that or no? I don't know. That
would probably be proof enough because you could show like, here's my curriculum, here's my degree. Right. I had this training. You all can make the decision. We can take it back and change that out and bring back a revised version to you.
I mean, I kind of feel like Corey and I are feeling similar on this one, that the practitioner can train their CA in office. I feel comfortable with that, but I don't know how Scott or Michelle feel, or Micah.
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between something like this and any type of manual therapy or exercise prescription? I mean, I get it, there's a tool obviously, but yeah, it's kind of a gray area, I think.
I mean, if we're already asking the chiropractor to be the direct supervisor, you'd think that he's or trained this CA appropriately for that device or whatever they're using.
Yeah, we have to have some level of trust in the chiropractor, right?
Okay. Well then, okay, wait. I think I'm feeling sassy. I think it's a pointless discussion. I'll just get right to it. Because realistically, right there, if you have in-person hands-on training, then that would qualify that you could prove that part of your didactic hands-on, part of your training was under your supervising physician. So they could sign off on that.
Perfect.
What's the difference between that and, I mean, just to make the case in favor of kind of what you're saying is, I mean, that does not say you have to have in-person hands-on training in a seminar certified by Corporation X.
Mm-hmm.
So
correct.
You could prove like, yes, and my supervising physician signed off on it as part of my training, like they taught me ultrasound and electric stem and
and specifically ISTM. Yeah. Does
that make everybody happy?
Yes.
Done. I got double brewed coffee. I'm feeling sassy. My crayons are sharp. My box is full. My glue is topped off.
So I guess I'm wondering, am I hearing any changes to this policy that need to be made, or we're good?
No.
We're good.
I think that changes need to be made because I definitely read it the same way Corey did. And I think a lot of other people are going to read that the same way, that they need to have had a seminar. So even if we just added something, just a little, seminar or an off.
Well, what if, sorry, Bashad, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what if you
You're
just
fine.
crossed out in person? So just be proof of hands-on training under supervision of a chiropractic physician. And then you take out the in person, which is sort of that ambiguous, does that mean a seminar? You know, what are we saying here? So now it's just hands-on training. So I think that would cover it. Is that simple enough?
Works for me.
I see a lot of head nods. I think we're all right. Good job, Karen.
Okay, so Mackenzie, if you can make that change.
She's good.
We've got 2 minutes until the rule hearing.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody want to make a motion? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt the IASTM policy as amended.
I'll second.
Thank you, Micah. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We will vote. Seth,
Aye.
Karen,
Hi.
Scott,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Micah,
Aye.
Lori is absent, and I for myself, motion carries. We made it. All right, let's go to rule hearing.
Let me just get the documents up, just one moment.
And Michelle, if you would make the statement of entering rule hearing for that rule for us, for the
Oh,
audio.
right. Okay, we are now going to enter rulemaking for OAR 811-010-0008.
Thank you.
So we've got, just like in your packet, we've got 2 different versions of this rule. So we've got the one that we worked on last board meeting with that 45% increase, and then we've got the other option available, which is the 30%. As a note, you had discussed increasing the application fee, and that shows up in the 45% version, but not in the 30, and we can absolutely move that over. So if that's the case, you just let me know and I can do that for you.
In this situation, so I think we explained this last time too, is that if the board moves forward with a 45% increase, the likelihood is that the legislature and the governor's office aren't going to approve the 30% increase. So they're 2 different things. So the board has the discretion to create their own fees. Okay, you have that right, but the legislature kind of retroactively approves them. So because this is right now, we're doing this in off session time. So meaning that we could go forward with a 45% increase, have it effective sometime in October, and those monies that we obtain, the revenue we obtain for those increased fees, if the legislature doesn't approve what we implemented at this meeting, then we would need to pay back the overage. And for me, that's a much more of a headache than just moving forward with what we anticipate that would be approved. Even though I would love the additional revenue, I really don't want, it would take a phenomenal amount of staff time and administrative tracking to figure out the refunding. So I'd much rather go forward with kind of what's likely to happen, and then request another fee increase if we need it in the next cycle. So if anybody has questions about that, let me know.
So I'm gonna propose that we work off the 30% increase draft, but add the increased application fee. How does everyone feel about that?
Yeah, I'm good. At what point do we talk about what that means? I mean, what we have to cut, what we, you know, how we move forward with that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of part of this budget process is right now, and I would like the staff to kind of chime in as to the implementation of this. So the effective date of this fee increase, and how kind of realistically we can make this happen as soon as we can. That increase, if we have it effective, you know, I'm making something up mid-October.
Mhm.
That increased revenue will affect our ending cash balance in 2025. And so all of that would kind of trickle down or trickle up into 25, 27, that ending cash balance. And so, so we may not be looking at, you know, drastic staff cutting. We may still need to, just, it all depends on what the revenue projections are.
Okay.
And so, you know, I know that the previous projections were at 30%, we were going to need to cut, you know, either time of staff or a staff person or that kind of thing. But also the legislature can kind of do surprising things. And seeing our progress report and our KPMs and the fact that we are still looking at kind of case backlog and that kind of drag from being low staffed or understaffed, I would be hard pressed if I was a legislator to say, oh yeah, by the way, let's now cut your staff again. But there's all sorts of, we are not the only agency involved in this. And actually, I just heard from CFO yesterday in one of our meetings that even though there's been a bump in revenue projections, DHS is actually taking a lot of the general funds and a lot of the budget from their super high caseload. And so, and other health professional regulatory boards are also seeing the fact that, you know, inflation and costs are absolutely outspending what people are obtaining or the agencies are obtaining in revenue. So we are not the only agency at all in this position. I think probably by the time I'm in front of the legislature talking about this budget, they're going to be sick and tired of hearing about the situation that we're in. So to answer your question, Karen, I really don't know. It all really depends on, you know, all I know is that a fee increase is necessary. I would have preferred a 45% increase. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we can work with what we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something in that comment. I didn't even think about that. You mentioned the general fund. Are we able to ask for monies from that to
No.
help? Like, oh,
No, I mean, all we can ask for if we were getting so low that our CFO and AFO or LFO were like, whoa, what's going on? You're going to be in the negative. We can go to the emergency board and they can allocate additional expenditure.
okay.
And, you know, so that allows us to spend more and pay off debt. But it's really, we're a fully other funded agency. So it's really reliant on licensing and application fee. Yeah.
In regards to time frame of implementation, I was able to reach out to our partners within Lumen and our partners with our payment system, which is another company that the state works with. And I got about the same amount of information, amount of time. 2 to 3 days is typically what folks need, keeping in mind that even though it's really quick, we also have to be, you know, if today, let's say, was the start of 2 to 3 days, we could probably shoot for the 1st of October. But that might be a little generous. So that's just the time frame we're working with. Not, you know, also keeping in mind that we have to notify folks and then get all that work done. So that's where we're at time frame wise.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So what's on screen, Mackenzie, is the 30% with the 496 additional, right? Or is that just straight up 30%?
This is 30%, and then the 1A and B is the amount that you guys had discussed that was a part of the 45 rule. Keeping in mind too that we did actually change the format of the rule a little bit. I did bring those things over, and we can see that in the red line. So for instance, there we go. You'll notice that G, that sentence changed. We didn't have a limit. That is not consistent throughout this rule. So if we do make that change, we need to just go through and read through that rule to make sure we're being consistent. The other thing being section 2, which is chiropractic assistant specific. And we just have these two here rather than having the initial certification be separate. So it's a little bit more clear for folks. That said, I don't know if the amount is correct. So that's one thing we'll have to check, but the rule is itself changed as well. Cass, while we're waiting and folks are looking at this, do you mind just confirming this amount on the table that you had for 30%?
Yep. Can you click into the red line version? Because I know we combined all of those into
Yeah,
A.
absolutely.
Yeah, so for 30%, the initial certification, what's redlined out in 2B, that would have at 30% would have been $78. Annual renewal would have been $117. That's correct. A, so that I am not sure. The 52 isn't right.
Yeah, it's not. But I think that's because before it was just the initial application fee. It was broken down that way. So now
Got
we're
it.
combining the application license fee, or we're calling it license fee, but it's certification, and then the background check fee. So
Yeah, so the 30%, the CA application itself is $176.25.
yeah,
And then
which we know 176.25. We know that it's 46.25 for the background check fee, so that leaves us at 130.
130. Yep.
I'd like to keep typically the license fee has been less or the application fee has been less expensive than the certification. It doesn't really matter. But just keeping in mind that currently our it's I think it's $46 for the application and $50 for certification. So we could do 60 for the application and 70 for the certification as a split.
Heather, is that what you were looking at before? Those numbers for the certificate, initial application certification and background check?
For CAs,
Yeah.
yeah, it's was it 142.25 right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure my math is mathing. All right. And so for 1A, the 496.25 was in line with the previous version of the 45%. That was the additional, the 45% plus some. And that's still under what other jurisdictions, Washington and California, are requesting for their application fees.
We had changed the verbiage so it says initial application and background check and struck examination fee. Because they don't pay.
Yeah,
the
let's
exam
get
fee
that mirrored.
as-
Yeah, because they still have to pay NBCE for the exam fee. The DCs do anyway, or the and the CAs.
I need to check really quick. It's late arrival. I need to make sure my kids are getting out the door. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Actually, with that, why don't we take a break? I know I can use a bio break. Let's come back at 9:30. Everybody good? Okay. 9:30.